Hey, what's up, guys? Lorenzo here. I wanted to go over with you guys today just a quick look at some of the custom work I've done, and that's both with um, 6 scale figures and 6 scale figure accessories. Some of the stuff I produced over the years, just because there wasn't, I would get a figure and I'd be like, oh, all right, but this isn't included in the accessories, and this is like iconic to have with the figure, so I needed to make it. Others, custom figures, just lost my patience in waiting for somebody to mass produce a figure that I was interested in. So I decided to gather up the different materials, various resources, and make the figure myself. In an upcoming video, I'll also go over my wish list for figures.
This first one is a custom Regan from the Exorcist that I did. How I ended up putting this one together is I had found a statue that just happened to be 1/6 scale, and painstakingly I used a drill to cut off the arms, the feet, and I preserved the base as well. Here's a closer look here at the feet and the base. I touched up the base a little bit because it did lack some detail initially, and I also touched up a little bit of the blood on the feet. The head, now that I think about it, I also did preserve from the original statue. However, I sanded off entirely the hair, which was sculpted on, and I replaced it with hair from another figure head that I had lying around. I also detailed the face a little bit better. And here's a look at some of the accessories that I made for the figure. So I did the holy water, I did the cross, two versions, one with the blood on it from her stabbing herself and the woo-woo, and another one without. And of course the... Alright, so a while back I made this Lara Croft Tomb Raider figure, and as some of you may know, recently there has been a release of a new figure, and there's two options, I guess. There's a regular version with pants, and then there's a deluxe version with pants and a shorts and a light up, I guess, LED base to go with it. Difference is, I think, about $60 or $50. But this is one that I made a while back. So as you can see, the head looks a little messed up, not quite Lara Croft, or maybe Lara Croft with a little bit too much Botox. With the two strands of hair, actually what I did is I got some wire and glued it on the top of the head and painted it a few times so that it looks like the hair coming down her bangs. This next one is one of my pride and joy figures that I made myself. This is a Napoleon Dynamite 12-inch figure, and it's actually interesting how I got this started. I had been given a Napoleon Dynamite 12-inch statue that was put out by McFarlane a while back, and for those of you not familiar, McFarlane, actually they were a pretty big hit a while back. They made not only movie type figures like Austin Powers and a lot of the horror movie figures, but they also did a line of athletes in various sports, mostly football, baseball, and basketball. And they were known for kind of kicking the ball on using 3D scanning of the actual people. So rather than trying to make sculpts using tools from scratch, they just took the 3D scans, and it was very accurate. And that's why figures like this look real good. So what I did is I simply took the head off, the two hands, the feet, and I actually kind of sculpted out the tie, and I bought a suit from a China seller off eBay. It took a while to track down a maroon suit, and I put this figure together by doing all that, and I think it came out pretty good. It is posable. However, I like keeping it in the pose that the original statue is in. I thought that looked pretty good.
This here is a diorama I made from, inspired by the movie The Shining. And I had seen a few done before, but none of them like looked movie accurate and had the caliber of detail that I would have liked to have seen. So this is one of those things where I was like, you want it done right, do it yourself. So I created this. And here's the other side of it. So this is the actually from the bathroom side. The other side was the hallway side. So I have the Jack Nicholson figure in the hole in the door, and this is how I have it actually displayed. So I try to do as much detailing as possible. The light switch on the wall, the latch on the door, the pieces of wood on the ground. I laid the tile myself, so I took little pieces of cardboard and laid them down, painted them several times, put a clear gloss on top, so it came out looking like tile work. And here's that classic scene in the movie that everybody knows where he takes the axe and busts the door and puts his head through and says, "Here's Johnny." So without a doubt, this is my pride and joy piece out of my entire collection, including figures, I'd say. I made this one from scratch. Some of the objects you see sitting around in the diorama, I gathered myself. Others I had on hand already, but I knew I needed to make this because not only because I had the entire line of X-Files figures, but because the X-Files is my favorite show of all time. So it took quite a bit of studying. I had to look for photos online of different angles of the office, and I also watched a few clips of the show and freeze framed it a few times. The difficulty came once I got into the details of analyzing these photos and stills is that the office did change slightly over the seasons. So I basically did a blend or conglomerate of what kind of remained consistent throughout. And these objects became known for sitting around his office. So here's a different angle. I threw Scully in this shot. Now, there is no illumination. If I were to really get nitty gritty with it, I would have put an LED in the lamp on the wall and rigged an LED diode in the desk lamp as well and run the wire hidden behind the desk. But maybe that'll be later on. In this shot, what I wanted to do is a side-by-side comparison. So the two shots on the left are the model, and the two shots on the right are roughly ideal angles to match them with of the actual set. So as you can see, I try to put the same type of photos on the bulletin boards, the same stuff sitting on the shelves. It took about a month, I'd say, with several hours a week to put this all together. And just real quick, this is a simple diorama that I made for my Platoon set, and I did it in no time. I got the background, I think, from Pet Shop. It's the kind of film that you put behind the fish tank. I got a lot of the plastic plants from Michael's. They're typically used for floral arrangements. And I bought a bag of moss and put that on the ground, and I just took some dirt from my backyard and laid that down too and glued that down. So I think it came out pretty good. It's hard to tell from this angle, but this is actually a bird's eye view of a custom base that I made for a Celine Underworld figure. If you remember in the first film, there was a scene when she was using two handguns to essentially create a hole in the floor, and this captures that perfectly. And I don't have an actual photo of the display with the figure, but it turned out. This is a briefcase that I made for my Tyler Durden figure. If you remember when he was on the plane, he had a briefcase. Inside the briefcase were several of his soaps that he made.
I also included the Fernie catalog that was in the beginning of the film that Edward Norton was reading on the toilet. And then I also included the safety card from the airplane. Here is just a close-up of one of the bars of soap. It was actually a oven-baked polymer clay, painted several times pink. I printed out several sheets of the small little paper and tied it up with a string, just like in the film. And I think it was wrapped actually in plastic in the film, so it's not entirely accurate. I could have gone that far. But here's another briefcase that I did, except this one is a drug dealer set. So I did, it was actually a card case that you could buy on eBay or Amazon. It's intended for business cards, but I realized that it was a 6th scale, so it was a perfect size for a 12-inch figure. I printed out the bills myself. The bills are actually double-sided, and it was quite painstaking actually to be able to initially create the sheet so that they were matched up perfectly so that I could cut them. And then I did the ribbon around each stack of bills, included a handgun, a pager, a fake bag of cocaine with flour inside, and then a small razor blade and a rolled up bill and a mirror. Now to finish off this video, just a quick plug, if you will. I do have a website where I have my portfolio of my work that includes drawings, dioramas, miniatures, painting, sculptures. I do commissions. I also have a shop on there, and if you are interested in purchasing a stack of cash or a drug dealer set for your 12-inch figure, you can do so on my website, and that is customcreationsbylozo.com.